Our event is starting, apparently.
It's a God-obration. Celebrate God-o. Come on.
I think we're live, Jan. I think we're live. All this ridiculous behavior is going to have to stop immediately. Welcome, everybody, to the end of Godot live stream funding party. Next to me, I have Lucy Sunshine.
Hello.
How are you doing? Below me, we have Jan.
Oh, hi. What am I doing down here?
Been sat on by some strange creature. And to our top left, we have who in the community you may know as Irresistible Jelly, or Mark for short.
Hello.
How are you doing? So he has a real face and something very strange on his head. I'm going to take these glasses off now because I can't actually see anything through them. And what we're going to do here is firstly make sure you can all hear us all clearly. I haven't actually checked that. I better check that. Let's make sure. There's a real face and something very strange on his head. I think you can hear us clearly based on my preview. What I'd like you to do is say the magic word this evening. What should we call it?
Curry.
Curry, yes, because that's what Jan's waiting for. If you type curry in the chat now, I'll look at my watch. We'll work out how long the delay is. That helps us tune the live stream to our needs. So type curry in the chat. That was
you see, I ordered curry for takeaway, but the nearest town is like 40 minutes drive away. It hasn't arrived yet. And now I will not be eating curry live on camera unless we hit, you know,
grass-fed curry.
6 million pounds.
So we've got about a 15-second delay. That's awesome. Great. So hopefully, Jan, that will send out a message to the universe or whatever that your curry needs to arrive, or at least to the curry shop. It'll be good. So guys, why don't we let this be community-led? First, awesome. We funded. Thank you. Amazing. At last. And we're 10% over the funding goal already. And by the end of this stream, I'm sure we'll be 1,000,000% over it. So let's start straight off the cuff with questions. Remember to prefix your questions like this, QSTN. Remember that the Kickstarter is here. And shoot, ask questions, make statements.
No pressure.
You know, no pressure. Create excitement yourself. We'll just sit here and be passengers.
La la la. It's great TV. La la la.
So look, guys, I'm going to fill you in on what's happened with the Kickstarter. I want to point out a couple of things that have happened since the beginning of the Kickstarter. The character customization has been included. A bit of a debate as to whether that's going to be in a 2D or a 3D game. If you just bear with us on that, we will let you know. But you'll certainly be able to customize a character on the start screen, and that basic customization will go through to the gameplay. Another thing that's cropped up mid the Kickstarter is Mikey's course. Jan, tell us a little bit about that.
So Mikey did some incredible work for us where we were thinking, well, we've got this 3D capability and we don't want to use like someone else's stuff. Mikey, can you throw something in from Blender? And he took a look and the documentation wasn't quite there. So he wrote some documentation and then people were like, oh, this is really great. And Godot were like, can we have this as official documentation? And we got to thinking, well, why don't we just do a separate course that'll be free to all of our Kickstarter backers? That's you lovely people, unless you're watching and you haven't backed, in which case this will be available on Udemy, but a separate mini course on how to bring assets from Blender, probably just Blender, we might branch out, but probably not, into Godot, all the things to look for, how to make it look as professional as possible, so that you too can have Cube Dude in a game.
Awesome. And people are asking, Keith, welcome back. Draymond, hello, welcome back. Hello, everybody. Martin, everybody else on there. The other people whose names I can't pronounce. It's 14 miles to Jan's nearest Korea, not 40, but hey, who's counting? 40 sounds better, doesn't it? Otherwise, we've got everybody sitting watching this live stream with a map of the UK and a little compass set of...
I live in the North Sea.
The only place in the country that's 40 miles from Curry. So,
question, does Godot support switching between dimensionality while running?
Between dimensionality. So is this like you want to slip into an alternative dimension? Is this that you want to do something like a space game and you want to have a massive range of distances down from millimeters out to star distances?
Are we talking 2D, 3D?
Switch scale? I think it's probably what I've just said.
Kyle, clarify that for us, because we can answer all of those, but we'd like to answer the one you want to know.
Yeah.
Because reasons. Martin assumes 3D for 2D. Hi, Michael. Hi, Mikey. Mikey, come join us.
Who's there? Mikey. Hello, all.
Hey,
hello, Mikey. So out of interest, here's a Wolfram Alpha search for 2 to the 64 millimeters. Why have I searched for that? Well, if you're asking a question about scale in a game and you're deciding that you need millimeter accuracy in your game and that the millimeter is the smallest feature that you want to be able to represent, and you're using a 64-bit engine, then the biggest thing you can represent is 2 to the 64 millimeters. How far is that? Well, I don't know, which is why I asked.
That's not the right thing. It's 2D to 3D.
And it's 2 light years anyway. That is 2 to the 64 millimeters. So if you've got a game, I know I'm answering the wrong question, but this is interesting anyway, right? If you've got a space game and you're trying to represent things down to the millimeter, then the biggest thing you're going to be able to represent without changing scales is 2 light years.
Sorry. 2D to 3D and back. Yes, it's extremely easy. In fact, you can render them both at the same time in Cube Dude Kickabout, which is not Cube Man Kickabout, it's Cube Dude Kickabout. I do exactly that. The HUD is a 2D node and it's being overlaid onto a 3D node. So you can switch between them as separate scenes. You can have different elements like mini maps and so on. Yeah, totally easy. Very doable. ND, I don't know what ND is. Another dimension? Another dimension.
Take your brain to another dimension. So we've got a question about, since we don't get Steam multiplayer, yeah, sorry about that, guys. We just had to we've learned our lesson from other previous Kickstarters. So will we get local multiplayer LAN? We're going to do multiplayer on a single machine. We're not going to promise at this stage that we're going to teach you LAN multiplayer in this course. No, what we are going to say is in the medium term, we're going to hit multiplayer properly across the board for all engines. So you will certainly do same machine multiplayer by the end of this in Godot. And we've already done that in that football game that we've already had a look at, and that was a load of fun.
In fact, I can show it to you. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to show it to you real quick.
Is it going to break the live stream? By the way, guys, is the stream working all right? Is it nice and smooth for you? I'd be interested to hear in the chat. And also, it'd be nice to hear from you a little bit, Mark. It'd be nice to hear from you what you're hearing from the community about Godot. Mark is a mod on our Discord chat server. He's a student instructor on both Blender and something else.
No, just Blender at the moment.
Just checking.
It's actually really difficult to do both these people with separate controls. But as you can see, local multiplayer, WSAD, controls the pink-purple player, and arrow keys to do this one. So, yeah, that will be in the course. Sorry, back to Mark.
There's been a lot of excitement about how to get the Blender over into Godot, which I've been trying to do myself, as well as you've probably seen me posting.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of excitement for the course, and people just want to get in there and get started.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. And Godot, what else? Godot, whatever. Even the founder of the engine doesn't know how to pronounce it. Lucy, what are you seeing in the community in your travels recently on Facebook? And because Lucy's the most in contact with you guys of all of us.
Yeah, as Mark said, just lots of really excited to get started on the new engine. Lots of questions about why Godot over Unity or Unreal. Lots of people worrying that we're going to stop doing Unity or Unreal because we're doing Godot. We won't do.
No, it's
plenty of space and love for all the engines.
I think that came about because we posted a talk with Lars about why he switched to Unity, and everyone thought, "Oh my God, Ben's dropping Unity." Like, not what we said. It's okay. Unity's still very much there.
Waving wildly, Mark.
No, I'm waving. Somebody says, "Whoa, it's Mark" in the chat.
Okay, so you're waving to them. He's now famous and on TV. Guys, 2 things about this. Firstly, if we have a central column of a tool, it's Unity, and everything else is built around that. That's where we have most of our content and most of our resources are going. Godot and Unity and Unreal are supporting pillars for that. We're absolutely totally focused on Unity and Unreal. Look at the fact that Sam, Rick, Mikey, all focused elsewhere. I'm just temporarily focusing here with Jan to get Godot off the ground. Second thing is, I don't want you guys to learn a third engine as a procrastination strategy. You're not doing that, are you? You're not pretending that you need to know a third engine before you get your first game out. What I am hoping is that having the third engine under your belt will give you the perspective you need to be approaching the other engines maturely. So that's what I'm hoping for you. So, yeah, that's that.
Good question here from Keith. I've been trying to learn Godot from a book, and internode signals are driving me mad. Will you be covering them in detail? Yes, in fact, in the very first project. The thing about signals is when you read it, it's presented in such a way that it sounds non-obvious. But the moment you actually see them running, it's actually really easy. All a signal is Node A has some information. It's just going to tell Node B, here is the information. That's all it's doing. And Node B will now, you create a function, Node B, and connect them. And it says, oh, I've received the signal. Now do this thing. It might be an area 2D node, right? Non-collidable area. And the moment something enters, run this function, right? So I don't know, it's a end level area, done. It might be this timer has finished. Great, the timer node is finished. Send the signal. Oh, the timer's finished. Run whatever code that is. It's actually quite simple, but the books make it sound weird.
Awesome. And it also shows up in the inspector, the different nodes that have got signals on them, which is pretty cool.
And you can create your own signals?
Bit like message broadcasting in Unity, but different to it. So I want to have a quick look on the campaign and talk a little bit about our 495 pound pledge. Now, I know this isn't for everybody, but it's cool to see that we've got 3 backers. This is a mastermind group. I want to talk briefly about the benefits of a mastermind group. If you've never been part of a mastermind group, the power of having, firstly, a group of people who are all committed to working at a higher level, and then secondly, having those people commit to each other what they're going to do over the next month, and then meeting on a regular basis is super powerful. I do that with something called Entrepreneurs Organization, and I've done something similar in all sorts of fields. That's what we're setting up there. We've got 3 people already. 3 is enough to get it off the ground. It'd be great if any of you who want to take your Godot or just development in general more seriously, check out the Godot Mastermind tier, because that is something where we're really going to take those people and make sure that if you need to customize the engine, you've got the support that you need. We're going to have people from Godot come in on each of those 10 monthly live events, and we're really going to make sure that you guys, between you, get the results that you want. So,
yeah. And it's actually a really exciting opportunity. If you're looking to this professionally, a great thing to do. Question from Derek. Will you be covering pathfinding via navmesh, waypoints, or whatever? Yes. Yes, we will. Probably in the Heistmaster game, because that's where I've been playing with it. We don't really need it for the platform game because there's no pathfinding. You just use animation. It doesn't need to find the best way to a place. But that should answer that one.
Probably shouldn't use the term higher level when talking about an engine. Okay, yeah, no game levels here. Lucy, question for you then on the process. What happens once the Kickstarter funds? I want to make sure people understand that it's a couple of week delay. What's going to happen from here?
Yeah, so as Ben said, once the Kickstarter funds, it takes us a couple of weeks before Kickstarter send us the money, and then we get the confirmed backer list. Once we've got that, then we've got coupons that we can send out to all of you guys. So any of the courses that you've backed at, you'll get coupons for straight away. And even the Godot course will be instant this time. Unlike other previous Kickstarters where you've had to wait a couple of months, we should actually have about 5 hours of content to deliver to you mid-July.
Yep, mid-July, exactly. All come mid-July all together. We need the backer list before we can do any of that, because Kickstarter is going to try and start charging your card, I don't know, possibly tonight or tomorrow, but it continues to try and charge everybody for the next 2 weeks because some people have issues. So we've got about this 2-week period, and then the charging stops, and then we get the money, and then we get the backer list. Then it's only at that point we can send it to you. We don't even have your details until the collection of the funds happens in about 2 weeks. So bear with us in that time. Jan will be doing lots of prototyping and some production at that time. And
yes, you'll get about 5 hours worth of content. That's not the whole course. We deliberately don't build the whole course in one go. We build the first chunk, get your feedback, and go from there, right? So I will be making it as fast and as well as I can. And of course, Ben will be doing the C# stuff. In fact, Ben, you've been looking at the C# for Looney Lips. Tell us how that journey's been going.
Yeah, cool. I mean, you have to write more C# than you do GD script, so that I appreciate GD script in that respect. But I also very much appreciate being in a proper IDE in Visual Studio and being able to refactor to my heart's content without worrying about whether it's missing something. So pros and cons, a bit more code in C#, a bit more verbose, but a bit more robust. Yeah, it's cool to see the contrast, and there's a lot of lessons which you can learn about both C# and GD script, and hence Python when you do that conversion. Mark, well, as you still are a customer and student of ours, and now you've graduated to the lofty heights of a moderator and student instructor and general godlike community member. What can you explain to people a little bit about our lean production, what that feels like as a student, the fact that we put out a small amount of content and then build on it as we go? What difference does that make to you?
It actually increases the learning journey because you're not having to go down paths back out as you're learning. It's following a path, and if we do need to go down that little sort of diversion, you take us down it and then tell us why and come back into it again. So it's more of a straight line production rather than branching out and then coming all together. And that's actually enabled me to do multiple courses at once and follow through with Blender and Unity RPG, which I'm currently doing. I've actually gone back recently through all of my learning now, and I've gone, I don't need any of the tutorials anymore. I can do this now, and I'm putting all of the bits of information because it's so lean. I know where everything is, and I can just grab it instantly. Awesome. And it just pulls everything together.
Nice. We'll pay you for that testimonial later, Mark. I didn't know what Mark was going to say. Then he could have turned around and say it's all rubbish. I only do it. I only do all this support out of sympathy.
Yeah, chocolate.
All right, snail mail games.
Yeah, the other person, by the way, that isn't on this stream that has been just amazing through the years and I'm not sure he feels as appreciated as we appreciate him, is Rob Mead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big love for Rob Mead. He, on the forum, particularly on the community site, community.GameDev.tv, he has just been consistently amazing, picking us up on small errors that are really important for quality. We can't always get to them, unfortunately, because we're just busy, but I really want to say that we all really appreciate Rob Mead. And here's the community site, which you all now have a part of. I'm not quite sure why it's parsed it like that in my chat, but it's all good. Take a look at the community site, very busy site, and thanks very much to Rob Mead. If he's here, or if anybody speaks to him, or you see Rob Mead on the community site, give him lots of appreciation because he does a huge amount of good work for us.
Yep. And now a question from Snail Mail Games. What will the course cover in terms of games being made in the Godot course? I personally would like to know how to make a Doom or Wolf 3D clone. Kind of need to unpack that a bit. Do you mean games that are being already made in Godot, or do you mean what kinds of games will we make? If it's the latter, we have the first few mapped out, right? So the first one's a word game. The second one is a 2D platform game with bunnies. This is Bunny. The third one is a top-down stealthy game. And the fourth one is going to be this Cube Dude thing that we made by mistake. And then from there, we'll work on your guys' feedback. I know there's a lot of interest in an R-type style game. Hi, Russ. I know Ben wants to make a hexagonal / isometric turn-based, possibly board game style thing. Well, I say he wants to make. He's keen for me to make and him to translate. Ben, you look like you had something to ask.
No, I have no value to add right now. You are on the flow. You carry on.
After that, I'm thinking it would make sense to mix 2D and 3D rather than just have 2D at the beginning and 3D at the end. Mostly because what will happen is if people feel like they're not getting to the exciting 3D bit, they'll tune out early and miss that. Whereas if we mix it, we can teach various techniques and lessons and show how applicable they are to various things. Also, once you've got 3D down, you can start mixing and matching within your game. As to making a Doom or 3D clone, there is something in the asset library that allow you to play Doom's original WAD level, so the WAD file format. So I know that's completely possible in Godot.
Awesome. So a couple more questions then. Will we make subtitles? Udemy will automatically auto-caption. Jan speaks pretty clearly. I speak fast, but hopefully pretty clearly. Those auto captions will get you 95% of the way there. If we have any significant problems in videos, we hope you guys will let us know, and we can either edit those up or we can pay for manual captions. We're not going to commit to manual captions for the entire course at this stage, but we will patch any videos that are problematic and send them for manual captioning.
Yeah, manual captions are fantastic, but they're really time consuming and they're quite expensive, not just in terms of money, but in terms of how much it slows down the video. So we'll release a video and then 2 days later, it'll get to you guys. So it doesn't make sense for us to do that unless there's a need.
It really is just a cost thing now. We've got automation in place to do it. Now it doesn't actually slow video release out. It just is 3 or 4 days before captions come. But we need to see the course selling really well on Udemy before we start investing in committing to manual captions for every video that goes out, because they are quite expensive.
Question from Jenny. Hi, Jenny.
But you will have auto captions. I just want to, and they're pretty good quality, and they're getting better all the time.
They are. What happens if our banks have issues with being charged because of the currency exchanges? That's one for Kickstarter, to be honest. We don't have any control over that, unless Lucy has some magic to add to that. But as far as I know, unless something drastic happens with the markets over the next 2 days, which is technically possible, but unlikely, you should see roughly the price you're being quoted, roughly. But if there's any issue, you actually have a little bit of leeway before Kickstarter sends us the stuff anyway, and that's why that's there. For specifically, oh no, this card doesn't work, or my country has sunk beneath the waves, or whatever it might be.
So, by the way, and it's probably not too late thinking about the fact that you've got 2 weeks to get it working. A lot of people say, can we pay with PayPal? And no, Kickstarter doesn't take PayPal. But a bridging solution is to use the PayPal Access card. If you consider applying for that PayPal Access card that I've just linked in the chat, that will allow you to take funds out of your PayPal account and to pay Kickstarter with a standard card. And I think you can get hands on it in about 7 days.
Yeah, 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10. So it's close, but it's possible if you're really stuck that you could do PayPal Access. And certainly consider it for future Kickstarters, because we will be doing future Kickstarters. And thank you, Lo, for your potential support there. That's awesome. 100 minutes left, we're being reminded. That's pretty cool. That's about right. Yep. So how are we doing now? 33,181 is my latest update. That's awesome. Well over 10% over the goal. Thank you, everybody, for funding us. It's awesome. There's a very high bar we set for this one for various reasons, and I'm so glad we got to it. That's awesome. So a few more questions in here. 1 or 2 don't have a QSTN, but...
One from Chris. Will the course cover physics and how to use them in a 2D game? Want to take this one, Ben?
Well, we're not, I mean, we're going to use the Godot built-in physics, things like the move and slide and the move and collide functions. And we're going to consider, we were just looking at that actually a couple of days ago on Hoppy Days about how that works. So we will be using Godot's built-in physics, and we will be, as usual, digging a little bit deeper than just what it's doing and saying, what's under the surface? What does this really mean? What's going on? So in that respect, yes, but we won't be building any physics from scratch.
Yeah, if you want to do physics, Ben, you have that physics course, or is that not live?
It is. It's old, and see, the thing is, I don't like it because I've got very high standards for it, but other people love it. So we took it out of the market, and everybody said we want the physics course back. So it's back. It's old. It's not been updated, and I don't support it. I will redo it one day in the future, probably. But yeah, let's show you.
It's a sneaky segue there, because one of the reasons that Ben got really excited about this engine was not just that he can do great stuff with Godot, but as from an instructor point of view, as Ben says, he can do evergreen courses like physics and math. Because Godot is an open source engine, we can host it ourselves and distribute it, and it doesn't matter if it's out of date. We can even debrand it, and then Ben can teach things like physics, math, I don't know, music theory, things that you need an engine for. It doesn't really matter what engine it is. It doesn't matter if it's up to date. He can just teach this stuff. So that's a possible thing.
Yeah, it's a big avenue it opens. Keith is asking about VR and AR in Godot and whether the mastermind group will be supporting it. The mastermind group, VR and AR is fringe in Godot. The support is growing all the time. But if you're committed to doing a VR or AR project without paying anything in Godot, the mastermind group is the place to be, because we will drag in, or not drag, but they're going to not go kicking and scheming, but attract in the resources from the Godot community, including people like Remy and Juan themselves, to help with that. So if you want to be on the bleeding edge of VR, AR, then the very best way to do it is to join the mastermind group. And then we can help you push the limits of the engine, and even potentially develop, help you, we're not going to do it for you, develop extensions for Godot as required to get done what you want done.
And a follow-up question from Keith.
Matt, who said Matt? Yeah, did you say Matt?
Yeah, I said math.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, you're back in the UK now. It's toilet, not restroom. It's maths, not math. And it's to
I know your mouth is moving and there's sounds coming out, but all I hear is wah, 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 wah.
Okay, so take the next question, Jan. Take it away.
Follow on from Keith. One thing, though, the August start date is a concern, as I'm not sure I would be up to speed by then, given that the course doesn't start until mid-July. That's a fair point, but bear in mind that this thing is about getting you in the room with some essentially really knowledgeable mentors and customizing your learning journey and your customization. So the first few sessions we would expect to be about defining parameters and figuring out what you need. The fact that you haven't got mastery of this engine yet, actually, that this is there to help you get that rather than just assume you already have that.
I think Mark's got an in-joke coming in his left ear there, possibly from the Discord chat. Something you want to share with us, Mark, or is it a private thing?
I've just typed in the chat there. I was laughing at the Charlie Brown voice, taking me back a few years.
Awesome. Awesome. So the mastermind group, if by consensus people want it to start later, we can. It's fine. We're going to do whatever that group of people want. So speak to Jan about it when he runs the events each month, and we will start it as necessary. We didn't want to say any later than August because we want you to be able to start as early as possible. Why penalize you? So.
I got a question here from Graf Grantula. It's a great name. Sorry if I'm asking that. Graf Grantula, which sounds to me like it should be a Star Wars character. Do you ever use Git bisect or any other lesser-known methods for finding elusive bugs? I have a very interesting relationship with Git, which Ben can attest to, which is I start using it, it eats my head. Ben messaged me going, "What did you do?" And then Ben has to fix my mess. So Ben, do you use any of these lesser-known methods?
Yeah, generally bisecting looking for a problem is a good idea. So the idea of bisecting a space, let's do it with a piece of paper. I'm trying to find a bug. Where's the bug on the piece of paper? Can we see that? Yeah, the bug is there. I'll tell you what, no, I'm going to do it on the piece of paper. The bug is there. But say we don't know where the bug is. So you can ask the question, is it in the left-hand or the right-hand side of the page? Well, you go, it's in this side. And then you ask the bisect again, and you say, is it in the top or the bottom of the left? And it's there. And you keep going. And after just a few bisections, you can cover a massive space if it's a sort of problem where you can say, you know, did the bug appear before or after this commit is what you're talking about. So we probably won't use the actual bisect function, but you can certainly go back, take your project back a certain number of steps and say, did the bug exist here? No. Okay. Did it exist here? Yes. Okay. Therefore, did it exist here? No. So there, it was introduced there. So that's the idea of bisecting. And with 24 bisections, you can go through 16 million commits, for example, because 2 to the 24 is 16 million. I'm going to do another.
I was about to say that, yeah.
So yes, it's a cool technique. We won't do it actually using their function probably because it won't be necessary with the complexity of our projects. But yeah, there you go. Geek out.
Yep. I need to step away for just a second. So I'm going to...
Yep. So Jan's gone quiet now. His lips are moving, but he's not saying anything. I suspect he's gone to get a curry, is where Jan has gone. So Lucy, anything else you want to add about how Kickstarters work, how the community's going? Just put you on the spot here.
Yeah, thanks.
No trouble, anytime.
I think some people had asked about potentially switching out courses. So if they've backed at a certain bundle, but maybe they wanted to switch and change. So just to let us know by email or message if you need to do that, and we can be as helpful as possible. We're generally helpful folks.
Yeah, I've not been promising that because it's Lucy there that has to do it. So yeah. I'm letting Lucy speak about that, as Lucy's the person who has to do the magic.
Be kind.
But gift them. Gifting is a great thing to do. If you've already got the course of a bundle, then share the game dev love with other people. You could change.
I just realised this is one of I went to the physio the other day, and he worked out that my what do you call this thing? It's that bone on the top of your scapula. It's the process on the top of your scapula. It's called the acromion. Yeah, anyway, my humerus head sits slightly forward of my acromion, which is I've got a slightly funny arm, probably from using the mouse. Watch that, guys. Make sure your mouse hand doesn't sit too far forward. And I get a little crease in my shirt, so I'm just going to push my humerus head back so that it's not overlapping my acromion more than 25%. I've got a feeling this has got nothing to do with the Godot. Anyway, Jan's back. Did your curry arrive, Jan?
No, I was calling to make sure they didn't get lost. They say it's on the way.
Yeah, cool. It's going to be cold, but it'll be lovely. Okay,
I
see what other questions we have here in the chat. Let's see if I can make that chat a little bit bigger. Boom, there you go.
Ooh, what's special about the jelly? Well, he's irreplaceable. He's irresistible. He's irredeemable. Maybe not irredeemable.
Irredeemable jelly. So dimensionality between 2D and 3D, yes. Internet. I'm just searching for QSTN, guys. So to help us find the questions, put QSTN. Navmesh we talked about. Wolf Doom we talked about.
This isn't really a question, but Chris Aguilar says it would be cool to see a 2.5D game, i.e. 2D characters with 3D backgrounds or something like that. Interesting. That's not normally what I think when I think of a 2.5D game, but that's totally doable. In fact, there's nothing stopping you from modding your version of Heistmeisters, the top-down stealth game, so that you can do exactly that. But that's something we could look at. It's a technique that we could certainly explore.
Godot's the ideal engine for that because it has genuinely separate 2D and 3D rendering pipelines. I mean, I never quite know what the definition of 2.5D is either. It gets used for all these sorts of different things. I often call a 2.5D game something like Trials HD or our Project Boost in the Unity course, i.e. a game that is a 3D environment where the control surface is constrained to 2D.
See, I always think of Doom.
Yeah, well, that's again, somebody else can interpret 2.5D like that. That's saying that it's a height map game. You can't actually ever go under yourself. But when I say 2.5D, I'm defining that as a 3D world with 2D movement. There you go. So that's what it is from now on. But if you mean actually combining those two paradigms, Godot's the ideal engine for that. And let us get a bit further into the production to work out if that fits in. I'm not going to try and say the word pedagogically.
Sorry.
Jan's doing his normal thing of peering over the top of the video screen. He's like, hello, people, I'm doing a live screen.
Sorry. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better, Jan. We can see your moves now. That's perfect. So what...
We're professionals.
Absolutely. We're having fun. It's the end of Kickstarter live stream if we're not allowed to have fun on a Saturday night. Lucy's
1970. That was excellent roof raising.
Thanks.
Nulunt 1970. I'm not sure if that's the year 1970 or if there are 1969 other Nulunts. Question: a Zaxxon clone would be immense. Not technically a question, but agreed. Ben, what do you think about a Zaxxon clone?
I think Zaxxon's one game that slipped my radar, and I have no idea what it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is look up and work out what Zaxxon is, and then go from there. You mean Zaxxon from the really old days?
Yeah. Like the 80s.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, we can't say yes to all of these games. But what we can say is that, firstly, let's link them to the Trello board, Jan, so they can drop that suggestion there. So these...
you got that?
I can get that.
Cool. So other thing to mention is Mark has been very kindly talking about possibly bringing the Game Dev Game Jam back. And once you've got some basic stuff under your tool belt, there's nothing stopping you making these games. I mean, the early 1980s games had some very impressive solutions to very hard technical limits. One of my favorites is Space Invaders. You know how the Space Invaders speed up as you get rid of them? That wasn't coded in. that was because the less sprites they had to draw, the faster the code ran, and they didn't fix the bug. It's like, oh, it really works. Now that you don't do that, you can absolutely use the basic techniques. Once you've got past about section 2 or 3, you can make these games. You absolutely can. Godot will let you do that.
We're really focused on making sure that we teach you what you need to know. We need to keep you going, basically, is the bottom line. When you get to a certain point, you'll be able to teach yourself the rest of what you need to know in Godot. What's important to us is that we introduce you in such a way that you're engaged and that you understand what's going on.
Yep. The Coding Spartan.
Jam, by the way, sorry to interrupt. Who's on the game jam at the moment? There's a Godot game jam going on right now. Who's part of that? Let us know in the chat.
There is a Godot game jam. There's both, in fact, happening right now. We're technically in day. Well, it's gone on for 24 hours now. The theme is temperature. And what they ask, you can reuse assets, but they ask that you make your code open source, which I think is kind of awesome. I don't have the link for that handy, but it's everywhere. The Coding Spartan, or if you prefer, the Coding Laconite, because that's what the Spartan's called. I was a history teacher. If we go over 2D, we'll be exploring parallax backgrounds too. That's one thing I'm missing from the Unity courses. Not only are we exploring it, we're exploring it in section 3, project 2, hobby days. We have parallax. It's actually very easy to do. It's nodes, right? So you have a canvas layer, you have a parallax layer, and you have parallax items, and it's done. Can I make Yan in Godot? Well, do you want to make a snow Yan?
Do you want to make a snow Yan?
Does it have to be a snow Yan?
Somebody's been watching Frozen just when we thought it would.
Actually, never seen it, but my wife was watching it, and I was listening to the background while I was playing Ark. So now, whenever I see a T-Rex, I hear that song. It's very confusing. Kyle, is Godot suited for scientific visualizations? Not necessarily will teach you anything like that. Just would it make sense or something else better?
I'll let you know that, Kyle, once I've considered using it for the math/physics course reworks that we do in the future. I'm hoping that it will be, and if it isn't, we'll bring in some libraries to make it suitable. But as a fundamental tool that is free and extensible, then yes. But exactly how good it is out the box, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, because I don't have a scientific degree. I mean, I guess technically I have a master's in science of education. I wouldn't know what that would look like. But I guess totally. Questions. Those aren't questions. Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about what we want to do. I should point out reasons why people enjoy Godot, and there's lots of different ones. It's something that I find fascinating because when I started it, the thing that really got to me was that it felt joyous. Right, the UI was there; it was very playful. Every time I wanted to explore something, it would suddenly bring up all these options, and then when I was done with it, it would hide them. It's not like the Unity inspector is like, here's everything you can do with this. Or the first time I opened Blender where it just tried to kill me.
It's not that bad.
No, but the very first time I opened it, it was just like, these buttons don't do what I think they do. I opened a window and it does nothing. But you're right. Once you get used to it, it's fantastic. Yeah. Ben, on the other hand, what was your experience? Why did you, because I remember when I first mentioned Godot, you're like, yeah, it's fine. And then you started playing with it and your tune changed. What was it that hooked you?
You hooked me. Not you personally, this isn't a romance, although we do go back sometime. My initial impressions of Godot, you couldn't see all of its richness because of the way it hides information. And it also just felt a little bit noddy, a bit like Blender's interface did. It had a kind of similar feel that we needed somebody to shepherd us into it. And that somebody was Yan, because you saw its magic and got us all excited about it. So really, you got me enthusiastic about it. And now that I see it in action, I understand the beauty of it. I understand the benefits of it. So yeah, your fault.
Cool. I'm happy with that. I mean, frankly, we've always enjoyed bouncing ideas off each other. Do you remember when we used to play Myst way back in the day?
I definitely remember Myst, yeah. Yeah.
We had this wonderful thing where I could get about 5 minutes in the game and get stuck. Ben would get 6 minutes in the game, and it was only when we played together that we could actually finish the game. So it's great to be working together. Some more questions. I'm going to massacre this name. I'm sorry. Gorsuto. After completing the course, how steep do you think the jump would be to actually contributing to the development of the game engine itself? Depends what part you want to fix. If you're talking about minor bugs and you have an understanding of C++, I imagine it wouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah, initially it's going to be, you're going to have to get your coding style in tune with the developers so that they actually accept your pull request and merge it in. But once you're kind of in tune with the developers, so initially very hard and then later very easy. So as with anything, it's like pushing a truck, right? You've got to push like crazy to get it moving. So it'll be worth it though. If you want to contribute to the engine, that would be awesome. Oh, lots of questions coming in. Look at all of this.
I know.
Cover a primer on vector math. I was going through some vector math with Jan the other day. I think that where we need that, yes, we better, what we can do is retrospectively insert that as well. If we forget to, well, we won't forget because we're professionals, but if we fail to insert it at the time, enough information at the time for you guys to get the traction you need on it, then please tell us in the Q&A. And what we'll do is we'll go and retrospectively insert. It's exactly the sort of content we can retrospectively insert more information about because it doesn't change the state of the project. So Blue, push for that if the coverage you get isn't good enough.
One from Bdazalga. Nailed it. Will you make sure that at some point we end up with a game where the main character is a toucan? No, we will make sure that you have a game where two characters are a toucan so that two can play, because Mike was very happy when he first came up with that. But we have to have toucans. They have become the unofficial mascot of Godot. Sorry, Godobot, it's no longer you, it's the toucan. Here's one for Ben. Chris Findley. Findley. Have you decided on what the Godot follow-up courses will cover? Like a separate shader course, multiplayer course, or will it combine several in one course?
I don't know yet, to be honest. We need to see what the traction is with Godot and where we go from there. So at the moment, we're just saying we're going to give you one solid beginner course on Godot, and then we'll work it out from there.
Yep. One from Damn Joe. How many scene views did you end up with the first time you used Blender, Jan? 5, and then I closed it. Because it was scaring me.
No, but look, Blender's and
it's fantastic.
All tools are like that, and once you get over that frog with Blender, then it's actually simple and flexible and powerful and awesome. And I'm sure Mark would agree. You like Blender, don't you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's really intimidating seeing all those buttons, and as Jan said, when you've got all of those screens open, you're going, "What's going on? How do I close this? How do I back out of this mess?" Mikey does an excellent job of that in the very early stages, of course, and takes you through how to not only, when you get to that point, but bring yourself back out to it to a working sort of desktop. So you can literally come back out of anything. When you first open it, don't worry about all the buttons. You're not going to use them all straight away. You will use them as you progress. If you pick up the Blender course or you've got the artist package, you'll follow through, and we'll take you through it stage by stage. And the heavier stuff, by the time you get there, you'll have all the tools you need.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's kind of cheating from an educated point of view with Godot, because I can get you doing awesome stuff without distracting you with all these buttons you don't understand. I remember when Ben and I were at school, I had real trouble with trigonometry. And to this day, I don't understand it, because they would say things like, now press tan on your calculator. And at 15, I would say to my teacher, what does it do? And he'd say, don't worry about that yet. And my brain just couldn't do that. Right? Godot allows me just to hide this bit out of the way till we need it. But Blender is a fantastic, piece of software, engine, renderer, animator, editor. It's just a wonderful program.
So shaders, there's a couple of questions about shaders. We are talking to a shader expert at the moment about doing a shader course live. Do plan to delay that a little bit because it's back in the bucket of intermediate content, and we're trying to hold off on intermediate content so that we can really cover our beginner base. But we have somebody in the pipeline, and when they do join us and work with us on shaders, we will look at shaders initially in Unity, but we will also then consider all the other engines.
Bunch of questions. I'm going to try and keep them roughly in order, which is tricky because I'm noticing some.
Lucy's not just sitting in there being beautiful. She could read out. Yeah. She could read out the questions. You would fancy reading out the questions?
Oh, but I think Jan is on top of whereabouts we are in them.
But it doesn't matter.
And he enjoys the name pronunciation so much.
Oh, but I was going to enjoy you trying to do the name.
Derek, will you be covering briefly the process of building the engine? Probably not in this course unless there's a need to.
No, get to know the engine first. Let's worry about extending it in the future. But we do have a very popular topic on our community site, which I'll go and find the link for in a moment, which is how to build your own game engine, which we're not going to teach you in the foreseeable future, but we are going to use Godot as a stepping stone to teaching you about the possibilities of engine customization, not just yet. But that's what it's another stepping stone to. Godot opens at least 3 major doors for us. Number one, it allows us to make evergreen courses where we ship we debadge Godot and ship it with the course and say, don't worry about don't even worry about the engine. Let's focus on maths or game physics or shaders. And the course doesn't age because of that, because we constantly have to update Unity on Unreal, because everybody's like, squirrel. It's like, we're here to learn whatever, but the new version of Unity, and you get distracted. So Godot allows us to do that. Godot allows us to, so there's evergreen courses. It allows us to, what was the second thing? What were we just talking about?
Squirrel.
And modify engines. So another thing is, I'm just looking through it on the forum here. It allows you to get into modifying engines, which is going to be awesome. And also, Godot, the other door that Godot opens for us is extending, not just writing and digging into a game engine and thinking about how you might build a game engine, digging down, but you can also kind of dig sideways and talk about extending game engines, which Godot also is very much set up for doing. So a few ideas there.
Would you like to read one?
Go on, Lucy, read a question.
I was going to address the one from Hub, which is, after the MP course got cancelled, is there a new MP course for Godot on the horizon?
So not yet. Local, same machine multiplayer, yes. If the Godot course is really successful on Unity and you guys want it, then we will consider a Godot multiplayer course once the main course is done. Godot over the internet, not just yet. The ecosystem's a little bit immature right now. The Steam APIs need some work. So we'll come back to that in the future as and when. We generally plan to hit multiplayer across the board better probably next year, but I don't exactly know the time yet. So we have a few other questions. I'm going to pop out for a break, stretch my legs while you guys handle the stream for a second.
Cool. Chris, will the course cover particle use? And if so, to what extent? Almost certainly. To what extent, I don't know. I actually had some particles in Hoppy days, and then Lars looked at my code and went, yeah, you could do this with particles, but why? You can just do this with materials. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's easier. Using the particles it's a useful skill. It's something you should understand, but we're keen not to teach it just because it's there, because that's how you teach bad practices, right? Figure out what the need for it is and then put it in. But the particle emitter and particle emitter 2D nodes are powerful. We should put them in. Love to. Would you like to read one?
It's kind of a Ben one, but knowing Ben, I think we can answer it. How deeply will you go? It was from Martin. How deeply will you go into debugging, code optimization, and writing clean code, etc.? Okay,
so I'll answer this in the style of Ben. Donkey, smash this puppy. No, he's not in the room. We definitely want to teach how to write clean code, right? Because that's really like getting out of your own way when you're coding is vital, and learning that practice early makes a huge difference. Debugging, I mean, yes, we'll have to teach it. I don't know. You could really do a whole course on just debugging techniques, right? And going deeper and deeper and deeper. That we won't be doing, but we'll be definitely teaching debugging techniques. Code optimization, I know the example you gave is, hey, my game needs 500 sprites, but it's too slow after 350. What can I do to optimize my code? Yes, we'll do that. We'll also talk about not having 500 sprites on screen unless you need them on screen at that time, how you could spawn them in just off screen, how you can remove them from memory. And remember, in Godot, we don't terminate code. We don't delete code. We free it. Run, my beautiful code. You're free now. But yeah, we will be covering stuff like that. I mean, we need to teach best practices, right? Otherwise, you'll learn how to make bad code, which is not what we do. We already answered that one. I pasted it into twice. Lots of ones about shaders that I really
How about there's one from Jamie, who's just joined this stream.
Hi, Jamie.
How long do you think the course will take from start to finish, production-wise?
That's a good question. So as a rough guide for the total amount of hours in the final course, we're looking at in the region of 50.
Oh, I wouldn't promise 50 yet.
I'm not promising 50, but that's my...
It could be as much as that if necessary, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's my like golden standard, right? So let's say, we'll go with a much easier 35 to 40.
Basically an hour a week, realistically, is how long we take to produce content.
Right, with a possible gap of a few days to prototype games in between, because I have to prototype it, get Ben to review my code, re-prototype
it. Doesn't come evenly, it comes in bursts, but if you look at it over the long run, it's about an hour a week. We'll make the course as short as possible, but as long as necessary to cover everything. So
yeah, and
you don't want to put hours in for the sake of it, right? At the end of the day,
no, totally.
We want you to get the information on the skills. Forget the information. We want you to get the skills as concisely as possible.
There's no point in doing it as a quota system. And I mean, we thought that my first section that I might be able to do an hour's worth of content, and I ended up doing like 2.5, 2 hours worth of content, and Ben hasn't even put the C# in there. I mean, it's how many hours it takes is how many hours it takes.
But to get the course completely finished, it's going to take the best part of a year. If we do really well, it'll be done. Well, no, it's going to take into next year to get it completely finished. So.
Yep. Here's a fun question. One, I had the other questions further up in my notepad, but one from R4ndon. Okay, Randon. I never did any of these courses. Can you tell me how this will work? Ben, how does this work?
So in about 2.5 weeks' time, you'll get a code to Udemy. You'll sign on to the course for free because you're a Kickstarter backer. You can take the course online on your web browser, or you can take it on iOS or Android. And you will watch videos. We will be told regularly by us to stop the video and do a challenge. You'll do the challenge judiciously, build your skills, and repeat until you become a Godot ninja.
Yeah. That's exactly how it'll work. We'll also encourage you to get involved with the community, share what you've done, ask questions, get to know people. We have a really, really friendly community and very helpful
Lucy,
community.
maybe you could talk about the different community options they've got and how the community works. And
Actually, I feel like Mark would be the best place to do that because he is the ultimate irreplaceable jelly.
Or both of you. If you, Mark and Lucy, have a little chat about the community.
Well, Mark, why don't I let you handle Discord first?
Well, Discord is constantly active, and I practically living there. I'm not always available, but I'm usually around keeping an eye, and if this question pops up. But there's usually between 2,500 to 3,000 students on at any one time. They're all in all sorts of channels. We have different channels for the programs, for the courses rather, and it's just a wealth of information. At the moment, there's people chatting there right now. The Godot channel still going as well, and yeah, just get on there, come join us, and well, learn with us.
Awesome. So that's Discord for instant help. What else have we got, Lucy?
We've also got Facebook groups for each of our main courses. So we've got an Unreal Facebook group, we've got a Unity Facebook group. If I can go through these really quickly, I can get them out quicker than Ben can type them. We've got a Godot Facebook group, and we have a Blender, and we have a 2D art one. So lots of Facebook groups for you to go and have a chat with people. We have Twitter, GameDev.tv, on Twitter to share your work, and we retweet. So when people are doing projects, we've got lots of students at the moment that are doing the 100 Days of Code challenge and are posting every day as they're following along in the course. So that's awesome. We've been sharing their projects over on Twitter. And then, of course, we have the community site that Ben talked about earlier, where we have our student instructors are on there. And Ben and Jan and Sam and Mikey and Rick all dive in on there as well. And you've got other students. So lots of places for support and help. And
the Udemy Q&A itself, of course. So if you have specific questions, this is all explained in the course. And in future, yeah, too many places. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot, but it's not really. You've got different reasons to go to different places, right? So generally, if you've got some feedback that needs instructor or student instructor response, you go right there in the Udemy Q&A right against that lecture. If you've got a share or a comment or a screenshot or something like that you want to share with the community, you don't necessarily need our response. You go to the community site. If you want some instant feedback, you go to Discord. And if you like the Facebook thing, then you go to Facebook. So. Yeah, and it also means you get to choose the platform that you're comfortable with and hang out there as well. So yeah, something exactly. For everyone. We go to where you are. We only added each of these as people requested them. So one of the most successful is our community site, community.GameDev.tv, but also the Facebook groups get a lot of traction. Bear in mind, in that long list of links I've given you there, 3 of those are for Facebook groups that have nothing to do directly with this course. So the first 3 are other Facebook groups. I think Jan's curry's arrived. He's gone. Yes. Absent without leave temporarily. Yeah. Awesome. I think we're not going to let the stream run hugely longer anyway, so that people are incentivized to rewatch it later or to watch the recording. So I'm just going to have a quick look for QSDN. If you could eye over my shoulder, Lucy, and see if you can see anything we may have missed. Start at the bottom. And then... Oh yeah, Jan had said he had quite a few shader questions. Yeah, so for you to come back. Yeah, Keith is asking a couple of questions. Keith and the Coding Spartan, and and Martin Godson. So let me answer those three questions all at 8:39 p.m. in one lump. So Martin's asking, how deep will we be going into debugging, code optimization, and writing clean code? Debugging, not a huge amount, because we don't tend to need to debug our code. That sounds strange. We use a lot of printing intermediate values to consoles and things like that. Don't often use the debugger, even in more complicated projects. Code optimization only as necessary. In beginner courses, we don't focus on performance. Writing clean code, we're all over that. We're like super clear about that, which allows us to write code faster, makes it less error prone, and perhaps is why we don't need to do so much debugging. So lots about writing clean code.
And it's what Jan said when he answered that question earlier when he got out of the room.
Cool. So there you go. You've heard it. You can tell that we're consistent. There was no collusion. That was like a police interview. The Coding Spartan shaders, would that be an engine-specific course? I don't know yet. There certainly will be engine-specific shader courses in the future because different engines have different graphics pipelines, so you need to do some specific. But we don't know how we'll structure the shader material just yet. There is obviously commonality between different shaders, the engines when it comes to shaders, so don't know. Keith Scholes, could shader or say AI courses be done as multi-engine courses?
Same question.
Yeah, sort of. Generally, we prefer to do engine-specific courses just so that people can actually directly follow along with the content in a particular course. So as much as I would like to do engine-agnostic, multi-engine stuff, it doesn't tend to work out that way each time we try it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here is that even if you use the same shader language, the way that the engine interacts with it might be slightly different. So there's some things that we need to be careful with it, engine-agnostic.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want people to be able to pick up a course, follow it in a given engine. So we haven't sussed out that engine agnostic thing yet. So just going to have a look. The stream's been going almost long enough. If nobody's got any other questions, I think we're going to start.
I've got one here. But as Alga, Ben, have you found the stop stream button?
I have found the stop stream button. I'm going to execute that stop stream button anytime now. The next thing that you expect to see us live streaming will be me live streaming the production of our prototyping of the RPG is what's most likely to be happening next. Exactly the terms of that and where you can find us and how you pay for it, etc. I will be working out before the event, but keep an eye out for that in a few weeks' time. Otherwise, we'll be in touch on the Kickstarter, and thank you for all your support. And you guys have been awesome. The Kickstarter actually finished in about an hour and 10 minutes. So we won't be online during that, but we did it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I really look forward to seeing what you guys make with this course, and we can't wait to get this course and all the other ones you've paid for out there. You still have 68 minutes to get your pledges in if you haven't pledged yet. And you can find us on Discord, on the community server. Ben has a Twitter thing. There's GameDev Twitter. There's Facebook. You can go to Ben's house. Don't do that. Yeah. Not going to leave to the end of the
if you want. That's
yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things on those levels. Thank you, Lucy. Is again, if you're really serious about your improvement, you want one-to-one interaction with Jan and people from the Godot community, look at the Mastermind group, Pledge 495. The other thing to say is that we're actually having dinner with a bunch of people here in Cambridge in mid-September. We're going to do various nights so that everybody can make it. We've already got 4 backers. There's 5 left. So at 150, take a look at that. You get the back catalogue, plus you get to come to beautiful, historic Cambridge, UK, and sit down with us for dinner, which would be a lot of fun. So,
and you can watch Ben on his electric unicorn cycle.
Yeah. We were having debates about the legality of, but I did want to reinsure people that when I was doing that live stream, that I am actually insured. I'm one of the few people that's insured to ride one of those because my specialist household insurance covers me for public liability. So I think that's the most important thing, is that if I injure myself, that's my stupid fault. If I ever hurt somebody else, I am fully insured for that. I also don't think I will. I'm quite competent, if I may say.
Last few very quick questions. Hub, is there Ragdoll system for 2D in Godot? No, but Ragdoll in 3D is coming in 3.1, which is the next major version. Jamie, yes, the additional course codes will come at the same time as the Godot course because we don't get that information till 2 weeks after the Kickstarter funds. We physically don't have your information, but the moment we do, we'll get them to you. Hub says, can't wait for the course. Not a question, but me also. Guys, thank you. You've been amazing. Keep being amazing. You're wonderful. And 2 cans.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for being here, Mark. And thank you for being here, Lucy.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here, Jan. Thanks for being here, Ben. Oh,
thanks, Ben. Thanks, Jan. Thanks, Hat.
Bye.
Bye.
Hopefully this is the